All right, it is Wednesday night. That means we talk Alabama football here on Mark Rogers TV. And to do so, we bring in Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. And we would like for you to check out our videos that preview the NFL draft coming up this weekend. We are just about 24 hours away, and Stephen has set us up nicely with analysis on all the draft-eligible players for the Crimson Tide. But let's stick to the current unit and a subject that just doesn't seem to be going away, Stephen, even though Nick Saban has come out several times and established Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback for this season. And now that we're post-spring and there's no more competition within at least the March and April sessions, it's still Jalen Hurts' job, according to Nick Saban. Now, quarterback battles have not been immune to Tuscaloosa here in recent years. We went through that time late in Greg McElroy's stay where he established himself as the starter. And then once A.J. McCarron won the job, it was his job for 3 seasons, culminating in 2013. But since 2014, we're going on 4 consecutive seasons where there may be a quarterback battle, or at least in the eyes of fans and media, a situation where there should be a quarterback battle.
And it's absolutely crazy. I mean, after A.J. McCarron, we understand Blake Sims, Jake Coker, how that came into play. A lot of people felt like Blake Sims, good person overall, but may not be the best leader at quarterback. You bring in Jake Coker, he's 6'5", 240 pounds, and the fans go, oh. I mean, look at this kid. He's 6'5", 240, rocket arm, can't miss kid, can't miss prospect, but we know the story. Blake Sims ended up getting the job, winning everybody over and proving that he was the guy for that system. And despite losing to Ohio State in the 2014 Sugar Bowl, 2014-2015 Sugar Bowl that year, you saw what Blake Sims can do, as the quarterback throughout that whole season. In 2015, Jake Coker comes in, does a pretty good job, even when he got benched against Ole Miss, and Cooper Bateman had the starting role that game, that season. Jake Coker comes back, produces a good season, 21 touchdowns, just 9 interceptions, threw for over 3,000 yards. Alabama would go on to win the national championship. And, of course, last year, Jalen Hurts earning the starting job in week 2 and taking it out throughout the rest of the season over Blake Barnett, David Cornwell, and Cooper Bateman. As we look at this go-around, it's interesting, Mark, because here comes Tua Tagovailoa. I finally got the name right. Tua Tagovailoa, Hawaii, this 5-star prospect in which everybody's saying, from Timmy Chang to Trent Dilfer, he is the most gifted passer everybody has seen. If you look at his stats from high school, over 8,000 yards passing, which is a Hawaii record. He's 6'1", 220 pounds, so he looks the part. He's left-handed, but has the grace and the patience to guide the ball, thread the needle, put touch on the ball. He's got the anticipation accuracy, deep ball accuracy. He's basically what fans look at as the sexy pick of the bunch. Here he is, putting him out there, front and center. But then there's also Jalen Hurts, the individual that, keep in mind, led this same Tide team to a Southeastern Conference championship, led this same Tide team to the college football playoff for the 3rd consecutive year. It wins the Peach Bowl over Washington. Now, it wasn't in the most prettiest fashion, but Nick Saban cares about wins. Could care less about how pretty you win the game. As long as it's a W, Coach Saban's good. And then he led him to the national championship game in which Jalen Hurts scores what would have been the game-clinching touchdown, a 30-yard run, crosses the plane. It's 31-28. The fans are jumping everywhere going, oh, my gosh, it's a true freshman. We're going to win. We're going to beat Deshaun Watson. And what happens at the end, defense a bit too gassed, and it happened. 35-31, Deshaun Watson got the job done. And Nick Saban goes to a fundraiser. He goes to a fundraiser after the A-Day game in which both quarterbacks played well. We'll get to that in a minute. But goes to the fundraiser, and after being beaten over the head with this question time and time again, he's asked again, Coach Nick, you got Tua T, you got Jalen Hurts. Is there a quarterback conversation? Is there a battle? Is there something, going on that we should know about? And Nick, as I can probably see, is just utter frustrated, looks at the media and goes, you're making something out of nothing here. There is no quarterback battle. Jalen played winning football all of last year and has done a great job, up to this point. So there is no battle. There is no conversation. But people love to liven this up, Mark, because the clickbait, because of the views, because of the commotion you're trying to spread. And it almost kind of goes back to, remember in 2005, 2006, when Nick Saban told the press, I'm not leaving the Miami Dolphins to come to Alabama. And he left the Miami Dolphins to come to Alabama. Well, there's a different statement, because if Nick Saban had complete control of that program and he's able to get his quarterback, Drew Brees, the one he wanted, Nick Saban's possibly still in Miami. The fact that Miami didn't offer him full control, Mal Moore at Alabama offers him full control and lets him run the program his way, presents a completely different dynamic. But, it's a question that will continue to be asked until the spring, due to the fact that you watch Tua Tagovailoa in the spring game, you watched him in high school, you see how good he can be. It's a question that if you're Nick Saban, you might as well just get you a pack of now-and-laters and just be prepared to answer it every way you can answer it.
And have your Coke candy, of course.
Have your Coke candy, have your water bottle to throw at somebody. Just be prepared to pull out all of your tirades at this point, because the question's not going away.
Stephen, let's keep something else in mind concerning the quarterback position in particular. It's tied to winning and losing more so than any other position in sports, other than the starting pitcher in a Major League Baseball game. That the quarterback, for better or worse, fair or not, is credited with a win, even if it's ugly, if it's 12-10 and the defense really won the game. Well, the quarterback gets credited with a win, or he lost 48-45 and couldn't have done anything possibly any better, but they still lost the game. So I don't buy into that, just simply quarterbacks that win a ton of games are really great and the guys that lose. I think it's a team game, and the quarterback has more say in the stake of the game than anyone else, but certainly there's 22 guys on the field. Okay, Jalen Hurts scored 31 points on a defense that is going to be littering the NFL draft next year, not necessarily this year because most of those guys come back, but an NFL-style defense, talent to that degree, put 31 points on the board. The other thing is that Jalen Hurts never got to step back on the field. It would have been one thing had Deshaun Watson scored like Jalen Hurts just did a few minutes prior, and let's say Jalen Hurts had 2 minutes left on the clock to move at 75 yards, and he failed to do that. But he didn't. Game over, ball out of his hands. He did everything that he possibly could to win that game. He scored the last couple times he had his hands on the ball, and it was really taken out of his hands. The best defense in the country allowed the lead to slip away. Jalen Hurts did not have the ball in his hands with the game on the line.
And that's what you really actually try to convey to people is, I go back to, he put Alabama in position to win. Nick Saban throughout the entire season did not ask Jalen to be a superstar quarterback. Now, granted, he's got some freakish athletic capabilities. I go back to the LSU game for just a moment. Dave Aranda, I don't know what the Tigers paid him. It's none of my business. I don't need to know. But they kicked that man out some money, and he deserved it. The pressures he was dialing up, the blitzes that he dialed up, keeping Jalen Hurts corralled in the pocket, and for Jalen to make some plays that only he could make. And at the end, the 21-yard touchdown run, the first touchdown score of the game, that was special. That was Jalen being able to make a play, a heroic play, if I might add, that only he could make. 20 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown. I even look at the Ole Miss game where he takes a shot from Marcus Haynes, who at that time, one of the better pass rushers in the conference. Now, Myles Garrett may have something to say about that. Arden Key, Deshaun Hall may have a rebuttal, and they have every right to have that rebuttal. But at this appropriate time, Marcus Haynes comes out there blind side and just rams Jalen Hurts to the ground. Fumble pops out, and here comes John Youngblood going all the way back to the house, and it's a 24-3 ball game. Anybody else in this stint, you're nervous, you're confused, you're upset. There's a cluster of emotions going on. Jalen Hurts goes to the sidelines, puts his emotions behind him, fires up the team, goes back out there and leads a drive in which Calvin Ridley scores on. And out of nowhere, the defense gets pumped up, the special teams gets pumped up. You come back and you win a game 48-43. So in that regard, he did everything he could, everything he possibly could. In the words of Skip Bayless, tried his darndest to keep this team in position to win a football game. But when you look at an Alabama fan base, Mark, it's as if when you don't win the national, when you don't win the big one, you find a way to who can I place the blame on? And it just so happens that number 2 in the huddle, quarterback in the bunch, is the one that seems to bear that blame more often than not.
So as it stands right now, on the final week of April, with the season quite a distance away, even August camp quite a distance away, Nick Saban, the word from the top is that we do not have a quarterback battle in Tuscaloosa. Jalen Hurts is the starter. Now, if for some reason Nick Saban is not shooting straight, or the sky falls in August camp and something completely different happens, that could change. But right now, we believe it's just a lot of media hype and fans speculating, and probably just bored and wanting to actually watch football and not talk about it. But we need to talk in the meantime, and that's what's being discussed around the Alabama camp, and especially nationwide when talking about the Tide, is the quarterback situation. I will credit, before we move on the conversation, Stephen, I will credit you with going back to the 2014 quarterback battle when Jay Coker, as you so eloquently stated, was the favorite for the job. You continually letting me know week to week that Blake Sims should not be ignored, that he had put his time in and gained a lot of equity with his teammates, and certainly he figured out the best route to that starting job and showed his athleticism and his stick-to-itiveness and claimed that job. And then just last season, when there was much to do about the likes of Blake Barnett and others in vying for the starting job, you correctly predicted that Jalen Hurts would be the guy to emerge as the guy.
I consider myself both the son of controversy and the voice of reason. I wear a mantra of different hats, but thankfully at times I'm right, and at times when I'm wrong, I can solemnly say I put the best effort in that I could.